Whispers from the Hollow. Prologue. The 13th year. Grayer's Hollow was a town that didn't appear on most maps. Surrounded by dense woods and constant fog, it clung to the edge of the state line like a secret trying to stay hidden. Every 13 years, the woods took someone. No one ever talked about it out loud, not in the diners, not at church, not even behind closed doors. It was as if the town made a pact long ago to forget the unforgettable. But the Hollow never forgot. The whispers came first, low, unintelligible voices drifting in through the trees at night. Then came the dreams, visions of dark figures watching from the shadows, and a girl with black eyes standing beneath a dead oak. And then, always, came the missing child. The last one was in 2010. It was 2023 now, and the Hollow was hungry. Chapter 1. New Roots. Cassie Taylor didn't want to move. Not to a place called Grayer's Hollow, and especially not to a creaky farmhouse that looked like it had been abandoned since the Civil War. But her parents were chasing the whole fresh start idea, and she was along for the ride, whether she liked it or not.
This place smells like wet socks,
She muttered as she stepped out of the car.
Be positive, Cass.
Her dad said, lifting a box out of the trunk.
Think of it as atmospheric.
Cassie stared up at the house. 2 stories, weather-worn wood, shutters hanging by one hinge. A porch swing creaked in the wind, even though there wasn't any wind.
Atmospheric means haunted.
She replied flatly. Her younger brother, Milo, bounded out of the back seat and ran straight toward the woods.
Don't go in there.
Cassie called after him. He stopped at the edge, staring into the trees.
I think I heard someone.
Cassie walked over and grabbed his arm.
It's just the wind or squirrels or both.
But she looked into the woods, too. And for a moment, she could have sworn something looked back. Chapter 2. The Girl in the Window. The first night in the new house was silent. Too silent. Cassie couldn't sleep. Her room smelled like old wood and mothballs, and the wind outside scraped branches against her window like nails on a chalkboard. Around 2:14 a.m., something made her sit straight up in bed. A whisper. It wasn't loud, but it felt close. Cassie crept over to her window. Across the yard, the woods looked like a wall of black, impenetrable and still. But in the second-story window of the abandoned farmhouse next door, one the realtor claimed was uninhabited, she saw movement, a shape, then a face, a girl. Her skin was pale as moonlight, and her eyes looked like pits, dark and bottomless. She stood completely still, watching. Cassie blinked. The girl was gone. Her heart pounded. She backed away from the window and told herself it was a trick of the light. She was just tired, stressed, seeing things. But deep down, she didn't believe it. And far off in the woods, something whispered again. Chapter 3. The locals don't talk. The next day at Grayer's Hollow High, Cassie learned 2 things. Everyone knew she was the new girl. No one wanted to talk about the woods. She sat at lunch with her tray of barely warm spaghetti, trying to fade into the background. A girl with blue streaks in her hair plopped down beside her.
I'm Gwen.
She said.
You're from the city, right?
Yeah.
Cassie said.
Boston.
Cool. I'm guessing no one told you about the Hollow yet.
The what?
Gwen leaned close.
The woods. Don't go in. Especially not at night.
Cassie hesitated.
Why?
Before Gwen could answer, a tall boy walked past the table, overhearing.
Let her find out the hard way,
he muttered. Gwen rolled her eyes.
That's no way he thinks being creepy is a personality.
Cassie frowned.
Seriously, though? What's with the woods?
Gwen grew quiet.
Bad things happen. Kids go missing. People see things and then they forget.
Forget?
They always forget. Like it gets erased.
Cassie didn't know what to say, but when she thought of the pale girl in the window, a chill slid down her spine. Chapter 4. The Hollow History. Cassie couldn't stop thinking about the girl in the window. That night, she pulled out her laptop and tried to Google the history of Grayer's Hollow. There wasn't much. No Wikipedia page, no historical archive. Just a few dusty blog posts and one grainy photo from 1910 showing a group of kids standing outside a schoolhouse, none of them smiling. But one thing caught her attention, an article titled The 13-Year Curse, Urban Legend or Forgotten Truth. It mentioned a pattern. Every 13 years, a child disappeared. First in 1945, then 1958, then 1971, and so on. The last was in 2010, a boy named Eli Winters. Vanished while walking home from school. No leads, no body. Case unsolved. Cassie counted the years. Another 13. She sat back in her chair, a knot tightening in her stomach. Something was coming. Chapter 5. The Mark Milo was acting strange. At breakfast, he kept staring at the hallway. When their mom asked if he was okay, he just nodded and poked at his cereal like it might bite him. That night, Cassie found him sitting on the floor of his room, whispering to himself.
Milo, what are you doing?
He looked up at her, dazed.
She says not to tell.
Who says?
Milo blinked.
The girl in the woods.
Cassie's skin prickled.
What girl?
She's cold. And sad. She says we're not supposed to be here.
Cassie walked over and gently pulled up his sleeve. There was a mark on his arm, a small black spiral etched into the skin like a burn. It hadn't been there the day before. Chapter 6. The Map in the Wall. The next day, Cassie decided to investigate the old farmhouse next door, the one where she saw the girl in the window. It was locked up, but the side door was loose. She slipped inside, heart pounding. Dust floated in the air like ash. The house was silent, except for the groan of old wood settling. Upstairs, she found the room where she'd seen the girl. There was nothing there, just peeling wallpaper and a broken dresser. But behind the dresser, something caught her eye. A panel in the wall that looked newer than the rest. She pried it open. Inside was a folded piece of yellowed paper, a hand-drawn map of the woods, with a strange symbol at the center, the same spiral Milo had on his arm. Next to the spiral, someone had scrawled a word in shaky handwriting. Return. Chapter 7.
Gwen's secret.
Cassie showed the map to Gwen at school. Gwen stared at it for a long time before saying,
You shouldn't have gone into that house.
You've seen this symbol before, haven't you?
Cassie asked. Gwen nodded slowly.
When I was 8, my cousin disappeared.
Cassie blinked.
What?
They said he ran away, but he was scared before it happened. Said someone was watching him from the woods. He drew that same spiral on his notebook. The day before he vanished.
Cassie felt a cold weight drop in her stomach.
And no one did anything.
Gwen shook her head.
This town has rules no one talks about. People forget on purpose. Like if you ignore it long enough, it won't come back.
But it always does.
Gwen nodded.
Every 13 years.
Cassie tightened her grip on the map.
Not this time.
Chapter 8. The Path opens. That night, Cassie stood at the edge of the woods with a flashlight and the map in hand. Milo had been sleep-talking, mumbling about the well and the voice under the tree. She didn't know what any of it meant, but she had to find out. She followed the map into the forest. The air was cold and heavy. No animals. No wind. Just stillness. As she walked deeper, the trees began to twist strangely, like they were leaning inward. Watching. She reached a clearing. At its center stood a stone well, old and cracked, with black vines curling around it like fingers. The spiral symbol was carved into the stones. She stepped closer. A whisper echoed from the well. "Return!" Cassie stumbled back, breath caught in her throat. Then, silence. She ran. Chapter 9. The Forgotten Names. The next morning, Cassie woke to find a small piece of paper slid under her bedroom door. On it were 12 names, all handwritten in the same shaky scrawl. At the bottom was a blank space, like a 13th name had been left out. She recognized some of them from her research, all missing children, one from each 13-year cycle. Eli Winters, James Croft, Lena Parsons. But who left the note? She turned it over. On the back was the message, "You know the last one." Cassie stared at the page, heart racing. Her eyes drifted down to the empty 13th space. What if it was Milo? What if the Hollow had already chosen? Chapter 10. Beneath the Well. Cassie couldn't sleep. The whisper from the well echoed in her mind. She waited until her parents were asleep, then slipped on her boots, grabbed a flashlight, and returned to the woods. The clearing looked the same, except the air felt thicker, like breathing through syrup. She stood at the well's edge and stared into the darkness.
Hello.
She whispered. Silence. Then a soft click beneath her feet. A section of the stone well's base shifted. The vines recoiled. A hidden stairwell appeared, spiraling downward into the earth. Cassie hesitated, then descended. Each step echoed. Her flashlight flickered. The air grew colder, damper, more ancient. At the bottom was a stone chamber. On the walls were names, all 12, etched in jagged letters, and beneath them, the 13th spot, blank. Until the wall moved, and a name began carving itself into the stone. Milo Taylor.
No. No.
Cassie screamed, backing away. The ground shook. A whisper filled the chamber. He has been chosen. Chapter 11. The Caretaker. As Cassie fled the well, she nearly ran headfirst into someone. A hunched figure in a dark coat, holding a lantern.
"You shouldn't be here,"
the figure said. His voice was gravelly and tired.
"The Hollow doesn't like interruptions."
Who are you?
Cassie asked.
"I'm the caretaker keeper of the old way, and you just made it very angry."
He led her away from the well and deeper into the woods.
"The Hollow chooses its tide every 13 years. A child taken to keep the balance. You can't stop it."
Why Milo? He's just a kid.
"It's not about age, it's about fear. The Hollow feeds on it, then we fight it."
Then we fight it.
The caretaker looked at her for a long moment.
Fighting the Hollow means remembering what others chose to forget, and that always comes with a price.
Chapter 12. The Book of Whispers. The caretaker led Cassie to an old, crumbling cottage buried in the woods. Inside was a single item of note, a leather-bound book chained to the floor. On the cover, a spiral.
The Book of Whispers.
It holds everything the Hollow doesn't want you to know.
No. He unlocked it with a brass key from around his neck. The pages were filled with drawings, sketches of children, trees with faces, symbols of protection, wards, runes, and more spiral marks. And words. So many words written in red ink. One page had a drawing of the well. Below it, the spiral binds the soul. One marked, one remembered. Break the mark, break the cycle. Cassie's fingers tightened on the edge of the book.
There's a way to stop it.
The caretaker nodded slowly.
There is, but the Hollow fights back. You'll need allies and strength.
Cassie stood.
Then I'll get both.
Chapter 13. Gwen's Warning. Cassie found Gwen waiting at the school gate.
I need your help. There's a book away to stop the Hollow, but we need to act fast.
Gwen frowned.
I had a dream last night about the well.
Cassie's stomach dropped.
You saw it.
More than that.
Gwen lifted her sleeve. The spiral burned into her arm. Cassie staggered back.
Know how? Why?
I think the hollow knows we're getting too close. It's marking us, trying to scare us off.
But you're not chosen.
Not yet.
Cassie clenched her jaw.
Then we keep pushing, we break the mark.
Chapter 14. Noah joins. In Noah, the tall boy from school, who always seemed like he knew more than he let on, found them behind the library.
You're both in danger,
He said, without preamble. Cassie raised an eyebrow.
You're finally talking.
He looked serious.
My sister was taken 13 years ago. Her name was Kali. No one remembers her anymore. Not even my parents.
Cassie stared.
You remember?
I made myself remember. Wrote everything down, kept her picture in a locked box. I thought it was just grief. But the hollow, it eats memory. That's how it hides.
Cassie pulled out the map and the Book of Whispers.
We're going to end it.
Noah hesitated, then nodded.
I'm in.
Chapter 15. The Broken Tree. The Book of Whispers spoke of a tree deep in the woods, the Hollow Root, where the first sacrifice was made over a century ago. A girl named Elsie Grayer, the founder's daughter. Legend said her soul still lingered there, and that she could speak. The trio followed the map to the tree. It was massive, blackened, gnarled, and split down the center like it had been struck by lightning. Carved in the bark, "Help me." As they approached, wind roared through the woods. A low whisper followed. "Turn back,"
No.
Cassie whispered. She reached out and placed her hand on the tree. The world around her vanished. Suddenly, she was standing in darkness, and a voice, soft, terrified, echoed in her mind.
He walks again. The hollow has no face, but many eyes. If you see the mask, run.
Then everything went white. She collapsed into Noah's arms.
Cassie, what happened?
She opened her mouth to speak, but all she could say was,
It's waking up.
Chapter 16. Milo disappears. The house was too quiet when Cassie got home. She checked Milo's room. Empty. His backpack was still there, his shoes by the door, but no sign of him. Cassie's mom was in the kitchen, humming to herself and chopping vegetables, like nothing was wrong.
Where's Milo?
Cassie asked. Her mom smiled blankly.
Milo?
Cassie froze.
Your son, my brother.
Her mother blinked.
Cassie, you're an only child.
Number Cassie ran to her room, heart racing. She pulled open Milo's dresser drawers. Empty. No clothes. No toys. No drawings. No trace. The hollow had already begun to erase him. She collapsed to the floor.
I won't forget.
Chapter 17. Eyes in the dark. Cassie, Gwen, and Noah met at the edge of the woods that night.
He's gone. The hollow took him, but he's not gone. Not really, I still remember.
Then it hasn't finished the cycle. There's still time.
Gwen was watching the trees.
We're being followed.
They turned. Just beyond the tree line, eyes. Dozens of them, watching, blinking in and out of the shadows. Shapes moved. Humanoid, but wrong. Twisted limbs, mouths where mouths shouldn't be. Then, from the dark, a figure stepped forward. A man in a white mask, no eyes, no mouth. Just blank porcelain. Cassie gasped.
The hollow.
The man tilted his head, then vanished. No footsteps, no sound. Just gone. Chapter 18. The Marked Ones. Back at the caretaker's cottage, the group studied the book again.
There's a ritual. An ancient one used once long ago. It can pull the chosen child back, but only if done at the hollow root.
What's the cost?
Gwen asked. The caretaker looked at them.
One of you will have to take their place.
Silence fell. Cassie stood.
Then we break the ritual. Rewrite it.
You can't?
Who says this thing lives off fear and memory? So, what if we flip the script? What if we remember everything?
The caretaker stared at her for a long time. Then slowly, he smiled. No one's tried that before. Chapter 19. Elsie's Memory. That night, Cassie returned to the hollowroot tree alone. She pressed her palm to the bark again, whispering.
Elsie, show me.
The world flickered. Then she was standing in a fog-covered version of Grayer's Hollow, old-fashioned, silent, and colorless. A memory. A girl stood at the tree's base, dirty nightgown, hollow eyes, dark hair whipping in the wind. Elsie Grayer. Cassie stepped closer.
Why did they sacrifice you?
Elsie didn't turn.
He came from the trees. Whispered to us at night, my father said it needed blood. A life every 13 years to keep it sleeping.
You were the first.
She nodded.
He carved the spiral into my chest. Call it the seal said if I stayed.
Tears welled in Cassie's eyes.
I won't forget.
Elsie looked at her then, her voice like wind through bone.
Then you were its sin.
Chapter 20. Gwen's Fade. Gwen didn't show up the next morning. Cassie called. No answer. She biked to Gwen's house and pounded on the door. A woman answered, confused.
There's no Gwen here.
But she's your daughter.
I don't have a daughter.
Cassie stared in horror as the door slammed shut. She ran to Noah's.
Gwen's being erased like Milo, faster. This time it knows we're close.
Noah grabbed his backpack.
Then we go now to the hollow root. We finish this.
Chapter 21. Into the spiral night fell. Cassie and Noah entered the woods with the Book of Whispers, candles, and the spiral map. The path twisted unnaturally, trees leaning toward them, branches clawing. When they reached the hollow root, the air felt like static. The spiral on Cassie's wrist throbbed with heat. They set the candles in a circle, opened the book, read the incantation aloud. One soul returned, one darkness undone. Memory remain, spiral unspun. The ground split, light burst from the tree. Cassie fell to her knees as images flooded her mind. Milo crying out, Gwen screaming in the dark, Elsie's sacrifice. The first ceiling, then a scream. Not theirs, his, the hollow. It was waking and angry. Chapter 22. The hollow strikes back. The ground shook. Black vines erupted from the earth, lashing out, trying to break the circle of candles. Noah shouted over the roar. It's trying to stop the ritual. Cassie gritted her teeth and held her palm over the Book of Whispers. Her spiral mark glowed red-hot, burning her skin. Then a blast of cold. Everything went still. And the man in the white mask stepped into the clearing. His head tilted as he stared at Cassie. He raised a single finger and pointed it at her heart. Suddenly, she couldn't breathe. Her chest tightened like something inside was being pulled out. Memory. He was stealing her memories. She forced herself to look away, to focus, to remember.
Milo, Gwen, Elsie, Collie, Eli, all of you I remember.
Light exploded from her spiral. The masked man screamed, the first sound he'd ever made, then shattered into ash. Chapter 23. Gwen's return. The vines withered. The ground stopped shaking. Cassie collapsed. When she opened her eyes, Noah was at her side.
It worked. Cassie, look.
From the darkness beyond the trees, Gwen stepped into the light. She looked dazed but alive.
What happened?
You were taken. But I didn't forget.
Gwen smiled weakly.
You remembered me back.
More figures emerged. Kids. Eli Winters, Callie, Lena, all of them, returned. Cassie's chest ached.
Where's Milo?
Then, a voice behind her.
Cassie?
She turned. Milo. He looked confused, scared but real. She ran to him and hugged him tighter than she ever had.
You came back.
I was lost, but you found me.
Chapter 24. The hollow root burns. As dawn broke, the hollow root cracked down the middle with a thunderous crack. Flames erupted, not ordinary fire, but silver, burning through shadow. The caretaker stepped into the clearing, watching solemnly.
It's done.
The cycle's broken.
Cassie turned to him.
No more sacrifices.
He shook his head.
You remembered that's all the hollow ever feared.
Gwen looked down at her spiral. It was fading, melting into skin like it had never been there. Noah pulled out the photo of his sister. She smiled back from the image now. He smiled.
She's really here.
Cassie took one last look at the tree as it turned to ash, and for the first time since moving to Grayer's Hollow, the woods were silent. Chapter 25. The last spiral. Back home, Cassie found her mom humming softly in the kitchen again. But this time, when she asked,
Where's Milo?
her mother blinked and said,
Upstairs doing homework, it worked.
It worked. Cassie walked to her room, relief settling into her bones, until she looked at her wrist. The spiral hadn't faded. It had changed. The lines were thinner, more intricate, almost like a lock. Gwen called.
Mine's still there too.
Noah.
Same.
Cassie stared out the window.
What if breaking the cycle didn't destroy the hollow? What if it just closed the door?
Chapter 26. The door beneath the Book of Whispers had one last page. None of them had noticed it before. It hadn't been there before. It read, The hollow sleeps, but it is not dead. A locked door must never be forgotten, or it will find another way to open. Underneath, a final drawing, a black door buried beneath the well. Cassie traced the ink with her fingers.
If the hollow was sealed, something must be guarding it.
Gwen said what they were all thinking.
We're the new seals.
Noah looked pale.
What does that mean for us?
Cassie looked out at the woods.
It means if the door ever cracks again, we'll be the ones who have to stop it.
Chapter 27. Grayer's Hollow. Weeks passed. The town felt lighter, like a fog had lifted. People remembered names they hadn't spoken in years. Faces appeared in yearbooks. Old family photos no longer had missing spaces. Milo played outside again, but sometimes Cassie would wake in the night and feel it, the faintest hum beneath the floorboards. Like something far below was shifting in its sleep. One afternoon, she met Gwen and Noah near the tree line. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Each of them now carried something the others never could, the memory of what truly lived beneath Grayer's Hollow, and the silent promise, if it ever comes back, so will we. The end.